Have you ever had a bad idea for a party? I'm not talking about forget to buy ice bad. I'm talking about let's cover ourselves in highly flammable roofing tar and dance around open flames bad. That's bad. Welcome back to History Habits. I'm James Bay. Today, we are traveling back to January 28th, 1393, a night where the French monarchy decided to play chicken with physics, and physics won. It's a story about a mad king, a drunk brother, and a fashion choice that would make a health and safety inspector weep. It's called the Bal de Ardents, the Ball of the Burning Man. And if you think your family gatherings are chaotic, wait until you hear how the House of Valois does a wedding reception. To understand why this happened, you have to understand the vibe of the 14th century France. The vibe was bad, very bad. Historian Barbara Tushman called this era the Calamitous century, which is historian speak for everything is on fire and everyone is dying. We're talking about the 100 Years' War with England, which was exactly as fun as that sounds. We're talking about the Black Death, which had just wiped out half of the neighborhood. And we have the church split in two with two popes fighting over who got the big hat. So the French nobility did what any wealthy, out-of-touch group of people would do when the world is ending. They partied very hard.
A finer vintage I have not tasted. To our host.
Well said, my friend. May the revelry continue.
They wore shoes with toes so long that they had to be chained to their knees. They drank spiced wine like it was water. They were desperate for distraction. But nobody needed a distraction more than the king himself, Charles VI. Charles VI wasn't just stressed, he was very unwell. 6 months before this party, he had a total psychotic break. He was riding through a forest on a hot August day when a page dropped a lance. Bang! That noise triggered something in Charles. He drew his sword into betrayal and attacked his own knights, killing 4 of them before they could tackle him.
Betrayal!
His doctors, using the cutting-edge medical science of 1393, decided that the cure for paranoid schizophrenia was entertainment. Of course. They didn't prescribe therapy, they prescribed fun. They told the court to keep the king amused at all costs. And that brings us to January 28th. There was a wedding at the Hotel St. Paul for one of the queen's ladies-in-waiting. But this wasn't just any wedding. The bride was a widow. And in medieval France, if a widow got remarried, it was a tradition to mock her with a Charavari, a noisy, rowdy protest. Because nothing says congratulations like public humiliation, right? The court decided to spice things up. They wouldn't just bang pots and pans, they would dress up as wild men, mythical beasts of the farce, and crash the party. Enter the villain of our story, Hugo de Gasse. Hugo was one of the king's favorites, but everyone else hated him. He was known for being cruel to the common people. He would literally force his servants to lie on the ground while he stood on them and yelled, "Bark like a dog." Nice guy, right? A real charmer. It was Hugo's brilliant idea to make the costumes realistic. He wanted the dancers to look hairy. So here's the recipe he cooked up. You might want to write this down in case you want to avoid your home insurance policy. Step 1, take a linen bodysuit. Step 2, sew the dancer into it so they can't get out. Step 3, slather the suit in pitch. That's tar back in those days. Resin, tree sap, and wax. Step 4, stick clumps of dry flax and hemp all over it. Basically, Hugo de Gasse turned the King of France into a human candle wick. Now, to be fair, they knew this was dangerous. They weren't completely stupid. They issued a strict order. No torches in the ballroom. The only light would come from the chandeliers high up on the walls. It was a solid safety plan. It relied on everyone following the rules. And as we all know, rich, drunk nobility are famous for following the rules, right? The night of the party arrives. The 6 dancers, including the king and our buddy Hugo, burst into the hall. They were howling, dancing, making lewd gestures. They are chained together to look like captured beasts. The king is the only one not chained, which is a detail that is going to become very important in about 30 seconds. The crowd loves it. Nobody knows who is who. The mystery. It's excitement. And then in walks Louis. Louis, the Duke of Orleans, was the king's younger brother. He arrived late. He was drunk, and he was accompanied by servants carrying, you guessed it, lit torches. James sees these hairy monsters dancing and thinks, I bet I know who that is. He grabs a torch from a servant, stumbles on the dance floor, holds the open flame right up to the face of one of the dancers to peek inside the mask. Historians debate if a spark fell or if he got too close. It doesn't matter. The flax caught fire because, whoosh, they were covered in resin and pitch. The fire just didn't burn, it exploded. And because 5 of them were chained together, when one went up, they all went up. The ballroom turned into a nightmare instantly. The musicians in the galley didn't realize what was happening, so they kept playing. Imagine that, jaunty medieval flute playing while men are burning alive. The dancers couldn't get the suits off. They were sewn in. The pitch melted and stuck to their skin. But this is where we see 2 incredible acts of survival. First, the king. Remember, he wasn't chained. He had drifted away to talk to a young lady, the Duchess of Berry. She was only about 14 years old, but she had the sharpest instincts in the room. She saw the flames, realized the wild man next to her was the king, and she didn't scream. She grabbed him and threw her heavy blue velvet skirt over him. She tackled the King of France and smothered the sparks before they could catch. She saved the monarchy with a skirt. Then there was Ogier de Nantoilette. He was one of the chained dancers. He realized he was dead if he stayed. He used pure adrenaline to snap the chain or break free, and he saw a big vat of water and wine in the corner used for rinsing cups. He sprinted across the room and cannonballed into the wine vat. He came out smelling like a vineyard, but he survived. The other 4 weren't so lucky. The Count of Jogene died on the spot. 2 others died days after agony. And Hugo de Gasse, the architect of the disaster, he lived for 3 days. He spent those 3 days cursing everyone. And when his funeral procession went through the streets of Paris, common people didn't cry. They remembered how he treated them. They lined the streets and shouted at his coffin, bark like a dog, bark like a dog. Karma, as they say, is the next day, to apologize to God and the angry citizens of Paris, the king had to walk barefoot through the city to Notre Dame Cathedral carrying a candle. The ball of the burning man destroyed the king's mental health for good. He never really recovered.
Heavenly Father, I beg for your forgiveness. I am a sinful king, and I ask for your mercy upon my kingdom.
So, other than don't wear flammable pajamas to a torch party, what do we learn from all of this? We learn that we all have wild man moments. We wrap our flames in flammable materials, bad debt, toxic relationships, little white lies, and we think we're safe because the lights are out. But there's always a Duke of Orleans waiting in the wings with a torch. Chaos is coming. You can't control the torch. You can only control your costume. So take a page from the Duchess of Berry. When the heat turns up, don't panic. Act. Protect what matters. And if you have to, be like Nantoilette. Don't be too proud to jump in a bucket of dirty dishwater if it saves your life. If you enjoyed this dive into the dumpster fire of history, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button like it's a peasant revolt. Ring the bell so you don't miss our next story, and tell me in the comments, if you had to escape a medieval party disaster, would you be the Duchess with the skirt or the guy in the wine bucket? I'm James Bay. This is History Habits. Stay safe and keep your torches away from the flax, okay? See you next time.